Okay, hello. Hi, Paula. Can you tell us a bit more about what you do, what your organization is all about, and how are you presently impacting the society today with your work?
Thank you. And thank you for the invitation to be
Okay.
here. So my name is Paula Hidalgo-Sanchis, and I work as manager in Pulse Lab Kampala, which is one of the 3 labs in the UN Global Pulse Network. The other labs are in Jakarta and in New York. This is an interagency UN initiative to tap into the value of big data and big data analytics and artificial intelligence to support the development goals.
Okay, so with the launch of the SDGs, there's a big focus on data revolution. Have you seen real change happen with how governments and institutions use data for monitoring and decision-making process?
I joined the lab around 3 years ago now. What I see is a big change in the situation 3 years ago or even 5 years ago with some colleagues that know about this initiative that was launched from UN headquarters. The changes that I see are as follows. A lot of work was put into demonstrating that big data is out there and is available. A lot of work has been put also to develop pilot applications and prototypes to tap into this data. And pilot work and pilot exercises have been conducted to prove that the data is there, that is accessible, that is useful, and the applications function. We are not at a point of launching large-scale projects at national level that will really be a milestone into the use of big data for the global goals. And we are right now at that point, especially from Pulse Lab Kampala.
So, Mr. Anand Kantaria from the SDG Action Campaign, can you tell us more about perceptions data? Tell us more about what perceptions data is, its impact in our society, and the My World 2030 project.
Great, thank you very much. So my name is Anand Kantaria with the SDG Action Campaign. And we started a project called My World in 2012, as Paula alluded to earlier. So over 3 years, we were able to get 10 million people to give their voices to inform what the SDG agenda should be. And this is one of the first times that such a large-scale initiative spanning 200 countries and largely from less developed countries actually was used in the political process. Many world leaders and decision makers used our data over time, and what it showed us is that it's possible and useful to be able to get out at scale to people around the world and champion people's voices and people's data directly into the heart of the decision-making process. So this was a very useful exercise during the post-2015 consultation. One thing I would say is that as a campaign, we're not a data collection agency, and we don't see data as an extractive exercise. We see giving people the dignity of voice as the start of a conversation to getting them aware and engaged in the SDGs. So we use these kind of tools to actually engage people, not just extract data from them.
So, Paula, you talked about the artificial intelligence, and there's presently a huge buzz about artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, big data. Can you tell us more? What does AI mean? What does big data mean? What's it all about?
I can tell you 3 examples of applications that we are developing at Pulse Lab Kampala with our partners that are going to show you very well what is it about in terms of the global goals. An application to conduct automatic identification and counting of white flies in cassava leaves. This is a disease that kills the cassava. Normally, it takes 6 to 8 months to identify this disease, so you can imagine the impact on the farmers. With this application that we are developing with the Artificial Intelligence Lab at Makerere University, it reduces to days the speed of the identification of the disease. Let me tell you another example. With the same idea of counting things, we are developing an application with partners to do automatic identification and counting of different types of roofs. The different type of roofs in many countries in Africa and in other parts of the world is a proxy indicator of poverty. So when there is a change in the type of roof, there is a change in the household economy. When we look at this at the aggregated level over time, it can tell us changes about SDG 1. And the third example, and I finish with this, an application that we have developed to conduct radio content analysis from public discussions on the radio we are now developing this application that does transcripts for Luganda and Choli and the way English is spoken in Uganda. So we can extract, with the same logic of the campaign that we were explaining before, we can extract insights to inform programs and policies on the ground.
Yeah.
Thank you. With the issue of data privacy of citizens and current regulatory environments, like in Africa, where you're working presently, what are you doing in terms of data protection? You're collecting a lot of data from citizens. How are you going to protect the data that you're collecting from citizens?
Thank you for this question. This is the natural question that always comes when we talk about the applications with big data. First of all, taking it very seriously and being very aware of the risks. Okay? UN Global Pulse has led the establishment of a worldwide global advisory group with experts on data privacy from academia, from private sector, and from governments. These experts have designed a guide with principles, procedures, and tools to address both data privacy and data protection. So we're using these tools and guidelines that are now available from the design of the project to the implementation of the project with an application.
So, Mr. Anand, can you tell us about expectations from the My World campaign? What should we look out for? What are the expectations you want citizens, you want people to look out for from your My World campaign?
Thank you. Well, I think there's been a lot of talk about a data revolution, and it's time for that revolution to really happen. We can't carry on as business as usual. We need new forms of data to really round out not just what statistically what statistically is happening on the ground, but how do people actually feel about their lives? Do they feel that their lives are changing? And are we having the right impact? New technology has enabled us to get to people a lot quicker. I mean, we used a lot of simple SMS technology or IVR call-in numbers, and we saw a huge engagement from people. So I think going forward, what we're going to start seeing is really lots of new forms of data coming out. The challenge is going to be for us is how do we visualize, how do we synthesize, and how do we make this data useful for decision making?
Thank you very much for joining us today. We hope you use data to definitely better our world. Thank you.
Thank you so much.